sorry, I didn't mean to wake you. Hey. Oh, no, don't leave, kitty. Sorry, we have a guest. Or we did. He was asleep. So, hey. Well, okay, let's see if we can keep Tukey around. I suspect we won't, but I'm going to try. So, today we are going to meet the toolkit. As you can see here. Oh, alright. Hi. Can we go to the next? Okay. Nope. Maybe? Okay. There we go. So, okay. So, why R? Why do I advocate almost evangelically R? Well, because it facilitates reproducible data analysis. What is reproducible data analysis? Well, let's go through a little bit of a cutesy checklist. So, near term, it allows us to affirmatively answer the following questions. Are the tables and figures reproducible from the code that we made and the data we analyzed? Next, does the code actually do what we think it does? In addition to just what was done, is it clear why it was done? Like how the parameters were chosen? Why the models selected were selected. Now, longer term, ideally, you want your code to be usable on additional data sets, not just the one you're specifically doing. And next, again, this is like kind of fantasy level. Can you extend the code to do other things beyond your specific analysis? Those are the big kind of ideals here. Okay. Come on. Sorry, my computer is struggling today because I'm asking it to both record and produce these slides and render the videos that I've already recorded and edited today. So, yeah, my computer deserves a raise. So that's why it's a little laggy. As a fiercely stubborn person, I'm going to continue. Alright, so that was a reproducibility checklist. Okay, so the toolkit. Our toolkit has 3 big pieces. 1, scriptability. So we use R for that. It allows us to tell the computer what we want it to do. Next, we have our markdown, which is actually how I made these slides that you are seeing in R. By kind of keeping all our code, like not plot, you know what I mean, and output in one place. And we do that with our Markdown and RStudio. Okay. So let's do a toolkit overview. Okay, so let's talk about the first solid chunk of our toolkit, R and RStudio. So what is R, and why is it always paired with RStudio? So R is a statistical programming language, while RStudio is like a nice, convenient user interface. Technically, it's called an integrated development environment, an IDE, but at its simplest, R is like the car's engine. It will go, it will do, it will follow your directions, but you have to communicate with it. And that's where RStudio comes in. It gives us more functionality and kind of a nicer dashboard so that we can get our our engine, oh, that's a mouthful, to do what we want in a way that is intuitive both to us and clearly communicates our desires to the car. And the dashboard gives us tons of extra information that you wouldn't get if you were just in a Model T. Okay, so let's take a tour of R. We'll start with the console. We'll do a couple of examples using R as a calculator. I'll talk a little about the environment. I'll load and view a data frame, so essentially a data set. Talk a little bit about accessing a variable in that data set, and then we'll wrap up with R functions. So, working with R. So the first thing we want to do is launch RStudio, which I have already done for us here. So what I'm going to do is maybe I want to show all the panes. So I'm going to zoom out. Okay, sorry, it is taking its sweet time. So here's the default setup for R. You'll notice that there are 4 panes here, like kind of like a quadrants. The console is so. There we go. So, I mean, this is set up a little, but before we. All right, so here's the console. It's got R code running in it. Here, obviously, I have R running, but the console is where you type in R commands and send a series of R commands. Versus, okay, so that's the left side. I'll show you what's up at the top little source chunk here in a moment, but we'll get there. So, to do, now the environment and history over here tells us what is currently usable. The environment is the stuff that R is holding in its working memory. So, versus the history, which keeps track of what you did. So here, I've mostly just installed various packages. Let's see if I can go all the way up. It keeps track of a lot of history. Okay, so the first thing I did, okay, this is a little fancy. But, okay, so here's all this code that I ran to get it so that we could have RStudio running and actually making these slides. Down here in this little quadrant, we've got files, plots, packages, help, and viewer. Now I have the viewer pulled up because that is where I am displaying my slides that I wrote in R up in the source panel, which is where you can write outside code and save it. Oh, we're not on that slide. Let's pull up the actual slide. All right. All right. Oh, we're a little ahead. All right. Cool. Now, you can also change the default settings to show a lot of other things. Now you can click on this link here and it will take you to RStudio support. Give you some kind of hints and tips about customize. Okay, my computer's really struggling right now, as you can see, because we are rendering video. We're gonna just let it take a break. Okay. So you can customize this, get it exactly how you want it. And I will show you how to do all of these things. So let's go back to view, zoom, where did we go? All right. Here. Sorry, there's a lot of stuff going on. I want to zoom the viewer because I would like to get these slides back to business. Okay, cool. So we can do a lot of cool stuff. Are we going to move ahead? Okay, so here, now I've reproduced this, so you can, please, I encourage you to follow along. You can go to the console, which is where all that wild text was, and here, what I've done, this is our code that is actually run and rendered. Every single thing in this little yellow box is code you can copy and paste and run yourself. We are going to create an object called X, and we are going to tell it to have 3 multiplied by 4 and print X. Now, the output has been printed here, and it has unsurprisingly given us the correct number, 12. Now, anytime you work with R, you can create these objects. They're technically assignments, where they have this structured in form, where you have an object name and you assign it a value. Now, how I would read this is X gets 12. So X here gets 12. That's how you read it. And everything we do in R is literally that. All the functions we do are ways to manipulate our data and our variables that we already have. Now, functions are you can think of functions as verbs. So this function is do this, and everything in parentheses is what it uses to do whatever this is. So each thing in parentheses is a piece of information that the function will manipulate. You can have multiple pieces of information. So this function do that. These are dummy functions. We'll use to this, to that, and with those as all key pieces that it will manipulate. We'll work our way up, but this is the basic idea. Now, to access pieces of a data frame. So not everything is just roaming around and floating in our console, in our computer, like X wasn't attached to anything. We can grab subsets, specific variables from data frames. Now, a data frame is like a giant Excel spreadsheet. It's the easiest way to kind of think about it, at least for now. And what we're doing with this $sign is telling it to grab a specific column here with the creative title, var name, for variable name. So we've grabbed var name from data frame. Now, last, packages. Packages can be installed with the install.packages function, and those are loaded with the library function. Every time you run an R session, you have to reload these libraries. And here's the basic structure. So install packages, you don't have to reinstall them. Install.packages, and then you just put as a string package _ name. Now, obviously, in this case, but some of the packages like I've written, like Discord, NLSY links, are packages that manipulate data and functions in systematic ways. And then when you want to load that library to actually use it, you just type in library and package name. We're wrapping up right here. Next time, I'm going to talk about our Markdown and give you a little more help. So I'll see you later. Bye.